Hi, get in with today's thought. You know, if I wanted to, I could probably create a 1-hour vlog of just Democrats screaming their heads off. Everything. My advice to Democrats, if you're listening, is you don't have to dial everything up to 11. It's like you're all members of Spinal Tap, except that instead of music, it's just out and out screaming. If everything is an emergency, if everything is a threat to democracy, if everything Donald Trump does spells doom for the United States, well, you know, you're going to reach a point. Well, I think we've already reached a point, or they've already reached a point where people aren't listening to them anymore. And one of the clearest indications are, I don't know, are they not watching the zeitgeist, the tempo of the times, getting the pulse of the American people? Well, if you haven't gotten it, maybe this will help. I'm going to put this right up in a second. This is a recent poll actually taken, I believe, the day before I'm recording this, or the day I'm recording this, which is the day that you're seeing it. I mean, when the poll was published, and it's Donald Trump's approval. Simply that, Donald Trump's approval. Now, you know, I guess I think it's 2016, right? He had low approval ratings, and he was being attacked all the time by the media and by, well, of course, Democrats. But anyways, here it is, 53%. Donald Trump's approval rating today is 53%. If I remember correctly, and I think I do, he was never even close to that during his first term, but things have changed, and what has changed most is the Biden administration was so bad that, well, the point is that when you have that level of support, let me throw in something else, which should be important to all you Democrats and liberals and socialists and LGBTQ, XYZ, MONOP, that he in that same poll, 70% of the American people say that Trump is keeping his promises. All right. So 70% of the American people believe that he is keeping his promises, and he has 53% approval. What does that tell you, or what should that tell you? Anybody with common sense is Trump has the overwhelming support of the American people. They approve of what he's doing. All these things that the Democrats are complaining about, they stand in front of the USAID building, and they just scream and they demand to be let into the building, and they just don't understand. People, they want what Trump is doing. They want the spending cut of the USAID, and if it's going to be merged into the Secretary of State's department, which it should be, the Department of the Secretary of State, that's where it should be. And then you'd have Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, could approve the spending. And I'll throw this in. I was going to do a video. Maybe I'll do it later. It was scheduled for today, but then I saw this poll and I had to share this one. But it's just John Kennedy, the Senator John Kennedy, just standing on the floor of the Senate, just listing some of the crazy things that your tax dollars are being spent on by these people. Well, I have to laugh when the people say, well, Elon Musk, who elected Elon Musk to simply look at where our tax dollars are going. And my question would be to the people who are saying that, well, who elected all these nameless bureaucrats who are spending all this money? Who elected whoever approved millions of, well, I think $2.5 million for electric cars in Vietnam, but also altogether millions and millions of dollars for, say, I don't know the specific 50,000 or something for LGB or something like that play in Peru. All these woke projects. The USAID basically a slush fund for all these woke projects that the left want to spend money on, and they're screaming bloody murder because somebody's finally looking into what all these agencies, all these unelected bureaucrats, left-wing woke bureaucrats have been doing, and we, the American people don't like it, and Donald Trump is canceling the spending. And it's funny, there are all these lawsuits to stop him from doing that. I assume these are all going to probably, a lot of them, they find, you know what I do, it's a little hobby of mine. Whenever I see one of these ridiculous decisions, I look up the judge who made the decision on Wikipedia, and I see who appointed that judge. And with maybe one exception, appointed by Barack Obama or Joe Biden. So they just find these left-wing judges to make these decisions that, well, there is such a thing. There are checks and balances, but the checks that Congress has on the executive branch is simply that the president, to spend money, needs approval of Congress if he wants to spend money on this, that, or the other thing. But he doesn't need approval from Congress not to spend money. Now, this is going to be litigated too, because there's something called the Impoundment Act that was passed in 1974 when Richard Nixon was very weak. Before that, presidents could always, just not spend money, and that was appropriated, and they just wouldn't spend it. But if they wanted money to spend, if they wanted to spend it on something else, they of course would need Congress, and hopefully that'll get challenged because it's unconstitutional. It makes no sense, as somebody pointed out, if Congress appoints, say, appropriates $100 million to build a bridge, and you have Donald Trump, he's a great builder. He has a reputation for bringing projects in on time and under budget. So if he can build the bridge for $75 million, why does he have to spend another $25 million to build that bridge if he can do it for 75? Just build it for 75, put the other 25 into the Treasury, or send it back to Congress. It just makes perfect sense. So, and also, what if Democrats revert to their old ways and appropriate, $100 billion to build slave plantations because they missed slavery that they were responsible for. The president is obligated to spend that money to go build slave plantations. I don't think so. So hopefully these court decisions will be, I'll give you one. This is even more ridiculous, and it's a judge in Manhattan, okay? Which just proves how corrupt the New York City justice system has become, which is, I lived in New York for 40 years. Thank God I don't live there anymore, because if I got arrested for something and I'm a conservative, Lord knows what could happen to me depending on what I'm charged with in that corrupt justice system. But there was a judge who just prohibited the Secretary of State and anybody under him and anybody from looking at the Treasury Department records to find out where money is going. They said that basically made the Secretary of the Treasury a ceremonial position with no power to look into anything that they're doing. They said only which is even more ridiculous, only civil servants with the need to know could look at the records. Okay, so these nameless civil servants, unelected, can look at the records, but their boss, the Secretary of State, cannot. That's how ridiculous it is, and we'll probably have to go through case after case after case, and it's just really sad. And the point I should give, maybe I'm getting a little off the track, is Democrats, when you opposed, it's one thing to oppose an unpopular president whom the people oppose, somebody who has a low approval rating and whose whose policies and actions are disliked or hated or opposed by the public. That's one thing, but it's another thing to oppose a popular president. And I guess we'll see the results in the first midterm elections of this second term in a couple of years, when Trump, if his policies are still popular, then he can say, "Well, look, I need more Republicans because the Democrats are stopping me, or they're constantly trying to stop me from doing the things that you want." And I guess my final advice would be, talk to and listen to very carefully. In fact, don't even talk to. Just ask John Fetterman for what should we do, because he's a moderate Democrat, obviously, and he votes sometimes with the president, sometimes not, but on things that the American people support, he votes in favor. I think the only thing he's voted against a couple of, I think against he's going to vote against Tulsi Gabbard and against Kash Patel for their director of national intelligence and head of the FBI, but a lot of things he's gone along with this, including approving voting for most of Trump's appointments, which only makes sense too. They don't seem to realize that all these people their job will be to implement the president's policies, not their own policies. So if anybody who gets disapproved, I mean, there's some people, if they're not going to be competent, they should be disapproved. But if they are competent, they'll just be replaced in any case, they'll be replaced with somebody else who, if they're incompetent, would be somebody who's more competent or competent to carry out those very same policies. So it just seems that these Democrats, I've said in the past, they live totally in the present. They don't think about the future. I guess they're just trying to fundraise, and they have their woke base screaming at them, saying, do something, you have to do something. And they try to stop Trump, and they're explaining that, some of them explain, well, we don't have the White House, we don't have the Senate, we don't have the House, there's nothing we can do except filibuster certain things in the Senate, but that doesn't satisfy the woke left. They want to see the Chuck Schumer out there screaming and yelling and making a fool of himself, and Elizabeth Warren and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I could think of Jayapal, a few more, who they don't have to say anything to make fools of themselves. They just got to stand in front of a camera because they're so obviously fools. So there you go, and that's my thought for today. Thanks for stopping by. If you could subscribe, that would really be great. Your comments are welcome in the comments section below the video. Share this video with anyone you think would benefit from it. But most of all, come back and see me again. I would love to see all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.